Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Haven't been making videos for nearly 2 weeks, just had a lot on and some busyness, but thought it was time to come back on, new month, September. And today I'm not actually going to talk much about astrology, but sort of a more general video, consciousness. But briefly on astrology, we're now in the position where Mars is in direct motion, but just about everything else is either in retrograde, shifting into retrograde, or in Venus's case, coming out of retrograde. With Mercury, we still have best part of a couple of weeks before that's out. And remember, with retrogrades also we have a shadow period, a period where the planet slows down before going retrograde, and also when it comes out of retrograde before it goes fully direct again, and it's moving extremely slowly to start with. So we still feel those retrograde energies for a couple of weeks after, often, depending on the planet, could be longer. But collectively, I think the retrogrades are now a time where we have to really spend a period of time, at least a few months possibly, integrating everything we've been through this summer. We've been through a lot. We all know this. There's been a lot of fiery energy all summer in more ways than one. And now we're coming into more of an earth energy. We're in an earth sign now, Virgo. The sun is in Virgo, of course. And we're also, I think, then going to get some more watery energy coming through. So this will be what it looks like going into fall and winter in the northern hemisphere, or spring and summer in the southern hemisphere. But I wanted to look at more general energies. Now, many of you I know have been struggling, myself included at times, of course, and we've been feeling a lot. Personally, and I know I've spoken to a few people, quite often I'll be sitting or perhaps lying in bed at night trying to go to sleep, and I can literally feel the earth shaking. And a lot of people I've noticed who are psychic or highly intuitive are talking about something big coming in September. But this isn't a time for panic or worry or concern, because what is going to come inevitably will be something that's very positive when we get on the other side of it, and could be, in fact, an enormous shift for humanity. So that seems to be something we're feeling coming intuitively, and we shall see what unfolds. And hopefully it brings humanity a little bit more back together. Now, we're already seeing the seeds of that. If you're somebody who follows YouTube quite a lot, social media, you'll probably notice that happening. Humanity's turning a corner. I've often likened it in the past to an elastic band. So obviously we know in the centre we have unity consciousness, but over the last few years in particular we've been deeply divided, and it's been really like an elastic band, stretching and stretching and stretching. So you're either on one end of the elastic band or the other, with very little in between. But we know the centre is where we come into unity. And I feel now we've got to the point where the elastic band stretched as far as it was going to stretch without snapping. And rather, unlike an actual elastic band, which would snap back to the centre very quickly, we're now on a much slower trajectory. But if you like, it's kind of like an elastic band coming back, releasing the tension, but in very slow motion. And I feel we've turned that corner. Anyway, so to move on from astrological themes, yesterday I decided to draw a couple of Lemurian cards for the month of September, one more personal and one for the collective. I wasn't surprised at what came up. I'll talk about that in a minute. I wasn't surprised on the one I got, which I think really applies in many ways to us all. It's one I've had come up before and feels absolutely natural. And the other one was very interesting. So the first one I pulled out, so this will be backwards on the screen, is the card of surrender. Now, this was the personal one, but I feel like this is pertinent to all of us now, is just to surrender to the flow. That doesn't mean surrender to everything that's happening in the world. certainly not. We must continue to stand up for our freedoms, our rights, and all that goes with that. But surrender to the flow, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we came here for a reason, for a sole reason, and everything is, whether we believe it or not, unfolding exactly as it should as we go through a massive shift. So surrendering is often the best route to take, because if we try to resist change and control, as we know, we bump up against many difficult situations and we don't actually get very far. But if we surrender it to the flow, that also encourages compassion for others and for ourselves and self-love. And the card I pulled for the collective was, interestingly, vulnerability. Now, this can have different connotations, vulnerability. I'm not reading this as we are vulnerable to outside control and what's being thrown at us. What I'm seeing this as, vulnerability, is a call to become more vulnerable with each other. So what we often find is, naturally our ego gets in the way and we get into disagreements and conflicts because we're afraid. We all, at the end of the day as humans, want to be loved. We all want to live in peace and harmony and get on with each other. And one of the ways in which we can connect on a deeper and more emotional level with people is to show our vulnerability. Now, of course, we haven't been taught this really down the ages. We've been taught to suck it up and keep it in and get on with things and don't show yourself as vulnerable, particularly in the modern world. Well, probably going back eons, to be fair. Especially with the male gender, we've been taught, males have been taught to particularly not show vulnerability and emotions. So I think this is a big, stark message for us now, is to please, the universe is saying, get in touch with your own emotions and your pain and your wounds. Have compassion for that and open up. Show that vulnerability, reach out. Now, it may not always be accepted by another. It may, in fact, turn people away at times who aren't ready to receive a show of vulnerability because it triggers. But all we can do is connect and show that we are human and show our compassion and love and understanding. So when people open up to us, showing their vulnerability, it's important that we show that empathy, that compassion, and that love and support. Not easy in a world where we've been deeply divided to the point where many people have fallen out with not just friends but members of their family, etc., over the last few years in particular, and we all know why that is, so we don't need to go there. So I thought those two cards were obviously exuding a kind of more divine feminine energy, but it applies to us all. We all obviously contain masculine and feminine energies, so it's not really applying to the more feminine side, it's applying to us all as complete, whole, unified beings. So surrendering and not being afraid to show our vulnerability, because in vulnerability there is enormous strength, enormous honesty, enormous truth. So that's the message I'm putting forward in general for September. So I'm not kind of going there astrologically really this month because I don't feel it's appropriate. I'm feeling a big shift coming, and so we need perhaps to just be focusing on ourselves, our own love and compassion for ourselves and each other. And then after this month is through, maybe even before it's through, as we enter the Libra season, I feel that we will be on a different track. Let's hope so. And know that everything you're going through and have been through this year, last year and previous years it will not be this way forever. We are creating a new world where the values, the true values of love, compassion, and unity will win through. So I'm wishing you a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, and thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and perhaps consider subscribing if you haven't already. Let's keep on putting out positivity in the world, and just surrendering to the flow as much as possible. So much love to you all. Thank you for watching.